Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing make your ex feel the pain of losing you to make them run back. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing make your ex feel the pain of losing you to make them run back. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need them to feel the pain of you no longer being in their life. If they hit that pain point, they will likely come running back. But can you influence this? In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 ways a dumpy can cause their ex to feel the pain of losing them. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is glow up and show up. So this is something that as a dumpy you need to be working on every single day, and that is being your best self. Now this is a lot easier to say than it is for you actually to do, but it's so important that you do get into this mindset, because you don't know when you might see your ex the dumper again. Alternatively, you might actually definitely know that, because if you work with your ex, if you share a child with your ex, there could be instances where you literally know when you will see them. But even if you have no actual connection in this regard and you think, well, there's no reason for me to ever see my ex again, you never know who is around the next corner. And you need to be prepared, because if you want to try to get your ex back, and even if you think they're not going to bump into me and I need to almost hope that one day they reach out to me and try to reconnect this way, you never know what's around that corner. You never know if you might bump into them when you least expect it. And you need to be ready, because if your ex-dumper sees you, they need to see it to believe it, that you are a dateable option. So glow up and show up means 2 main factors regarding this. Glow up means be your best self in every single way. This is not just about how you might look, but it is also including this. You need to make sure that you look your best. That means, in essence, making sure you are as healthy as possible. If you are as healthy as possible, you will glow. You will look your best if you look as healthy and feel as healthy and are as healthy as possible. Making sure you eat healthily, making sure you have regular exercise, making sure you get enough sleep, making sure you remove bad substances from your life. That is the foundation for you to live a healthy life, to feel healthy, to be healthy, to have that byproduct of looking more physically attractive. You also need to make sure your style is on point. Now, maybe you have hair, maybe you don't, maybe you have a certain style clothes-wise, maybe you wear very random clothes, different times, whatever it may be. You need to make sure that you look your best within the specifics of who you are as a person. Maybe it's time to have a bit of a refresh. I'm not suggesting that you go completely against what you used to be or used to do or used to believe in. But what I am saying is just have a polish up, make yourself look as good as you can be. And therefore, if you bump into your ex, they're going to think, wow, okay, my ex looks much better than I remember them looking. That is one side of the glow up. But there is also body language. You need to make sure that you behave in the right way in a physical sense, emotionally, when they look at you in the eyes and when they share a few words potentially. You need to be making sure that you behave in the right way conversationally, emotionally, physically. Everything combined has to be on point. That is the glow up side of this. Because if you want to cause your ex the pain of losing you, they need to see you and think, oh my gosh, my ex-dumpy is a dateable option. I can't believe I dumped them. How did I do this? I've never met anybody since who looks as good as them now, who acts as good, who sounds as confident, who is someone who I actually would really like to be with now. I can't believe it. What's happening? They're not going to get to that pain point unless you glow up in this way. Now, the second part of point number one, the second element, is show up. And this is when you do know you're going to see your ex. Now, this might be, like I said, due to work or family commitments, but it could also be potentially you have mutual friends and you know that your ex is going to be at an event that you've been invited to. Now, my suggestion is that as long as your mental health is in a good enough place, you shouldn't be avoiding these instances. If you're struggling with mental health, then sure enough, you might need some time out. But if your mental health is okay, you should be going to events, even if you know your ex is there. Because you can't get your ex-dumper to feel a longing for you in regards to you being a potential dateable individual if you aren't at events that they actually expect you to be at. Because firstly, if you're not there, they're going to realise that you're being somewhat awkward. They're going to realise that you are emotionally unstable, else why aren't you there? If they're expecting you to be there, even if they don't really want to interact per se, they acknowledge that you will be there, and if you don't show up, that isn't going to look very good on you in that respect. But if you show up and you glow up, that is when you can really pull on that pain point of them missing you and wondering why on earth have they decided to no longer have you in their life right now, and possibly change their mind. So now let's get into point number two and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number two is network with their circle. So in today's podcast, we're speaking about making your ex feel the pain of losing you to hopefully have them come running back. I just wanted to add at this stage, when we're speaking about making your ex feel the pain of losing you, we're not speaking about any other pain other than that kind of thought process. It is not positive to be thinking negative, okay? So we don't want to be living our life in a way where we are bitter, angry, frustrated, negative, wishing bad things on our ex. That isn't going to help. So please don't be confused by the title of today's podcast. We're just trying to create a thought process of your ex-dumper feeling the pain of losing you, feeling the pain of you no longer being in their life. It's nothing else other than that. So remove any negativity. It won't help you get your ex back. It won't help you find anyone better. And it won't help you enjoy your life. Let's remove that negativity and focus on the positives. And when we're trying to get our ex-dumper to recognize that losing you was a mistake, one of the ways you can achieve this is to very occasionally connect on socials with your ex-dumper's circle. Now, let me explain a little bit what I mean here. There will likely be people that your ex-dumper had as friends before you and they met. And when you did meet, you started to connect with one another. Their friends became yours, vice versa. And you had people within your social circle who are in essence your ex-dumper's friends. And therefore, post-breakup, you're not really spending time with them. Sadly, this is what happens after a breakup. You are no longer spending time with people that you did connect with at least on some degree. Now, these people can be a very useful tool for you to get your ex-dumper to miss you not being in their life. But you have to be very, very careful with this. Now, I'm not suggesting that you message directly your ex-dumper's friends. If you do that, it will look kind of obvious about what we're trying to achieve here. And that is likely to have a detrimental effect on your ex-dumper starting to miss you. But you can very subtly make contact on social media, but not directly. What I would suggest you do is perhaps every now and again, if they post something on socials, that you comment, or that you just interact in a way which doesn't look too obvious. You're not making it too obvious, but you want your ex-dumper to notice this, but you're just doing it very subtly in a way where they will. And even if your dumper doesn't notice it specifically, this friend, this person who you kind of know and you haven't spoke to in a while, but your ex-dumper is good friends with, that person will likely pass the info on. Hey, you'll never guess who commented on my status. You'll never guess who commented on my photo. Your ex, your dumpy did. And if you do this in a way which is delicate, which isn't too obvious, which is very careful indeed, you can just start to drip feed yourself back into the life of your ex, the dumper. And this is very important because we want them to be thinking of you. As we've already been saying, we want them to hit that pain point of feeling the pain of losing you. And they can't do that if they're not thinking about you. And one of the great ways to make them think about you is to do what I've just suggested, because you aren't contacting your ex. You're leaving them out in the cold. You're somewhat connecting with their friends. But again, not directly, just very subtly. Maybe they posted a photo or a status or something. And not every time, but very occasionally, you just add a comment. You're just there. You're just in the background. And guess what? Your new profile photo looks absolutely incredible because you have glowed up. So if anybody decides to have a little peek about what's going on in your life, well, they're going to see you at your best. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is go with a secret person. Now this is some expat strategy which could be very interesting to you indeed. In fact, it's something which I've spoke of with people via my audio coaching service, where we can get really specific about exactly what to do. But just to give everybody listening a broad outline of one of the things you can do to really pull on your ex, the dumper's heartstrings, and really make them feel that longing for you and that missing you, is a technique that I like to refer to as going with a secret person. And this is connected a little bit to point number 2 in regards to, as we've already said, you drip feeding into your ex, the dumper's friends' social media, and therefore they might be inclined to click yours. Now this doesn't necessarily have to connect, because even if you haven't done what we said in point number 2, your ex, the dumper themselves and all their friends might have decided to check out your socials because they're just wondering about you anyway. Either way, if they do, if they are connected, if you're friends, if they follow you, if they would see this anyway, this is when you can really influence your dumper's mindset by using a strategy of going with a secret person. And this is that you are going to go somewhere, but you're not going to say who it's with. Now, linked a little bit to point number 2, what we were saying, again, you have to be very careful with this. If you take a misstep, this can look really, really obvious. It can look really cliche, okay? And we don't want to do that. You've got to make it look real. You've got to make it look genuine. Now, if you want advice and support, maybe my audio coaching could help you in this regard. Maybe you want to speak with your own friends and family. Whoever it is you want to speak with, make sure this seems authentic. Because if it doesn't, you're going to fall flat on your face. But the idea is that you build a little bit of intrigue about you going somewhere. Now, depending on the social media that you're using, you could do this with posts, photos, stories. But I would suggest that before you're going somewhere, you do a little bit of build-up. For instance, really looking forward to Saturday night. Okay, just a status like that. Very vague. You kind of build things up, and then when it gets to the day, this is when you will be posting photos, maybe stories if that's something you can do with your socials, and really start to paint a picture of you enjoying a great time, but it's not clear who you're with, because maybe you're not actually with anybody at all. Or perhaps you are with someone, but they're just a friend, or someone that's not actually connected to you in the way that you are suggesting. You are suggesting that you're going on a date. And from the dumpers I've spoke to, if they feel that their dumpy is going on a date or might be dating, this is more likely to actually pull on their jealousy than any type of frustration. Therefore, if your expert-dumper believes you are a dateable individual with other people, they are more likely to actually see you as a dateable individual themselves. So I can't say specifically how your ex will react, but most dumpers I've spoke with have said if anything, they will feel more connected to their dumpee if they believe their dumpee is dating. So if you can give that impression that you are somewhere with someone, then this can be really helpful. Now, what can you do to suggest that you're out with someone? What can you do? What can you post? Well, I'm going to let you know a very classic example of something which has a good success rate. Despite the fact lots of people might have heard of it, maybe you haven't. Very good success rate of making dumpers really start wondering and ultimately pulling on their heartstrings, hitting that pain point of where we want them to be, of feeling the pain of losing you, and hopefully making them run back and messaging you in the future. And by the way, it's not necessarily that they're going to message you the same day that you post what I'm about to say. No, okay? It doesn't work like that. It just sets things in motion. They might not contact you for 2 months, but the beginning point of them considering contacting you probably would have happened when they saw what I'm about to say. And that is that you post a photo of you sitting at a table or at a bar, something like that, and all you can see are 2 glasses, 2 drinking glasses. That's all that's in the photo. There is no context, nothing else. But anybody who sees it is obviously going to assume that you are with one other person. But who is that person? Well, that is for your dumper to wonder about.